Part 1. The Riddle of Silent Power. Have you ever felt it? That quiet, sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach during an argument. It's not about who is right or wrong anymore. The words have become hollow shells, fired back and forth like meaningless projectiles. You can feel the blood rising to your face, your heart pounding a frantic rhythm against your ribs. You present flawless logic. You lay out the facts one by one, a perfect, unshakable foundation. But you are not met with reason. You are met with a wall, a towering, impenetrable wall of pure emotion. And you stand there in the deafening silence that follows your final desperate point, feeling utterly and completely drained, powerless, defeated before the battle had even truly begun. We have all been there, trapped in that suffocating dance of conflict that leads nowhere but to exhaustion and resentment. We are taught that to be heard, we must be louder. To win, we must be sharper. To convince, we must find that one perfect, devastating combination of words that will finally shatter the other person's defenses and force them to see the world our way. We search for the verbal silver bullet, the rhetorical masterstroke, believing it is our only way out of the maze. But what if I told you that the entire premise is a lie? What if the most powerful, most influential, and most disarming weapon in your entire arsenal is not a word at all, but its complete and total absence? What if one of history's most ferocious thinkers, a man whose words were like bolts of lightning, Friedrich Nietzsche, left us a key to unlocking a power so profound it can alter the very fabric of human interaction, a secret to winning any battle without ever having to say a thing? It sounds like a paradox, doesn't it? A complete contradiction. In a world that screams for our attention, a world of constant noise and endless debate, how can doing nothing be the most powerful action you can possibly take? How can withdrawing from the fight be the ultimate strategy for victory? It feels like surrender. It feels like weakness. It goes against every instinct that tells us to stand our ground, to raise our voice, to fight back, because you are not doing nothing. You are not surrendering. You are performing an act of immense, almost superhuman strength. You are choosing to command a one and only territory over which you have absolute, unquestionable dominion: yourself. In that moment of intense pressure, when every fiber of your being is screaming at you to react, to retaliate, to argue back, you choose instead to be still. You choose to be silent. This is not emptiness. It is a profound act of self-possession. It is the deliberate creation of a space, a vacuum, into which the other person's chaos and anger can no longer find a foothold. By refusing to add your own chaos to the fire, you don't just stop the argument. You change the very nature of reality. You shift the center of power from them to you. This is the first step. The realization that true strength isn't about controlling others, it's about mastering yourself. But to fully wield this silent power, to use it not just to end conflicts, but to understand and gently influence the world around you, we must first unlearn a fundamental lie we have been told our entire lives. The lie about what it truly means to win. Part 2. The Illusion of Victory and the Price of Pride. We are taught from childhood that winning an argument is a moment of triumph. We imagine it as the final perfect rebuttal, the one that leaves our opponent speechless, their logic in ruins. In that silence, we believe we are standing tall, the champion of the conversation. But that feeling, that intoxicating rush of being right, is a beautiful and dangerous illusion. It's not a throne you've just ascended, it's a trap you've just walked into. Because the victory you think you've won isn't a victory at all. It's the beginning of a profound loss. Imagine every connection you have, every relationship, is a house of cards. A delicate structure built on trust, intimacy, and shared understanding. Now, every time you win an argument by overpowering someone, by making them feel small to prove your point, you are not adding to your strength. You are slowly, deliberately, pulling a single card from the foundation of that house. You hold it up, a trophy of your intellectual dominance. But the structure groans, and you've just introduced a weakness that will never truly heal. You can gather a whole deck of these winning cards, but you'll be left standing alone, clutching your victories in the wreckage of what was once a home. These are not trophies. They are the ghosts of a connection you sacrificed for pride. The price you pay for being right is the silence that lingers long after the words have faded. A silence that sits between you at the dinner table. A hesitation in their eyes the next day when you try to speak of something simple. It's the intimacy you trade for a moment of superiority. A victory that costs you your peace is the definition of a defeat. Nietzsche saw this game for what it was. He knew that the desperate need to be right, to dominate every conversation, is not the sign of a powerful mind, but of a fragile one. It is the cry of an ego starving for validation. The person with a truly solid core of self-worth has no need to dismantle another's arguments to feel whole. Their strength is quiet, self-contained. It doesn't need an audience or an opponent because it is built from within, not pieced together from the fragments of others' defeats. But wait, does this mean you should simply roll over, let falsehood stand unchallenged, just to keep the peace? Are you supposed to become a doormat, sacrificing your convictions on the altar of a false harmony? Absolutely not. This is not a call for weakness. It is a call for a much higher form of strength. This is about finally understanding the difference between a victory for your ego and a victory for your spirit. A victory for the ego is a sugar rush that fades, leaving the bitter aftertaste of a damaged connection. True victory, true strength is not found in rising above another person. It is found in rising above the weakest parts of yourself. The greatest triumph you will ever achieve will not be the moment your opponent falls silent. It will be the moment you hear the roar of your own ego, the desperate cry of your pride demanding to be right, and you choose the quiet whisper of wisdom instead. That is not surrender. That is enthronement. The moment you become the true ruler of your own soul. When you choose to step back, you aren't forfeiting the battle you see. You are choosing to win the only one that matters. Because the clash of words and stubborn pride is just a shadow play. Part 3. Revelation. Number 1. The battlefield is within you. So you stand at a crossroads. The other person's words are a storm raging around you, and every instinct in your body is screaming at you to build a fortress of logic, to fight fire with fire, to raise your voice and be heard over the gale. But the real fight, the one you keep losing, is not with their storm. It's with your own instinct to charge into it. Nietzsche's secret begins here, with a truth so fundamental it's almost offensive in its simplicity. You cannot control another person, ever. You cannot force them to see reason. You cannot command them to feel a certain way. You cannot surgically implant your perspective into their mind. The attempt to do so is the very engine of your suffering. It is a fool's errand. Like trying to command the tides or reason with an earthquake. every ounce of energy you spend trying to manage their reaction is an ounce of your own life force poured into the sand, lost forever. But here is the other side of that coin, the revelation that changes everything. While you have zero control over them, you have the potential for absolute, total, unshakable control over yourself. An argument is not a war between two people. It is a test. The person standing opposite you, whether they know it or not, is presenting you with a series of challenges disguised as insults and accusations. They are asking you, in the most primitive way possible, will you be provoked? Will you allow my anger to become your anger? Will you let my chaos become your chaos? Will you abandon your own center of gravity and be pulled into my frantic orbit? Every jab, every irrational claim, every heated word is an invitation to lose control of your own soul. And the moment you decline that invitation, the moment you choose to stand in the eye of their hurricane, calm and unmoved, you have already won the only battle that ever mattered. You haven't just dodged a bullet. You have demonstrated that you operate on a different plane, governed by different laws. Their chaos washes over you and finds nothing to cling to. It recedes, leaving them exposed and alone in their own emotional storm. But wait, this quiet strength, this inner peace, it sounds like the wisdom of a monk, the discipline of a stoic. How can this possibly come from the mind of Friedrich Nietzsche, the philosopher of the will to power, of dynamite and danger? This seems too passive. This is because the world has profoundly misunderstood his most famous idea, the overman. We are taught to imagine a tyrant, a domineering figure who imposes his will upon the world, crushing others beneath his ambition. But this is a shallow reading. A deeper, more profound truth lies in the name itself. The overman is not the man who stands over other men. He is the man who stands over himself. His ultimate victory is not over an opponent in a debate. It is the victory over the screaming toddler of his own ego, the triumph over the raw animal instinct to lash out in anger or crumble in fear, the conquest of his own base passions. When you meet a scream with silence, you are not being passive. You are actively conquering the rage within yourself. When you meet an insult with stillness, you're not being weak. You're demonstrating a strength so complete that their words shatter against it like glass. This is the highest expression of power Nietzsche could imagine. Not the power to command armies, but the power to command your own spirit. Once you achieve this, once you have won the war within, everything changes. You are no longer a participant in their game of chaos. You are an observer. You have created a space, a profound, powerful, and deafening silence. And now you are ready to see what that silence truly is. It's not just a shield to protect you. It's a mirror, and what it reflects back at your opponent is something they are completely unprepared to see. Part 4, Revelation number 2, The Will to Truth, Not to Power. Friedrich Nietzsche is infamous for his idea of the will to power. For over a century, this phrase has conjured images of dominance, of conquest, of the human desire to climb over others to reach the top. It's the philosophy of the tyrant, the justification of the bully. But to see it only this way is to see only the shadow and mistake it for the man. It is the lowest, most primitive expression of a drive that, in its highest form, becomes something else entirely, something sacred. The true aim of the evolved human spirit is not the will to power. It is the will to truth. When you refuse to engage in the chaotic dance of an argument, when you hold your center and simply observe, you are not surrendering power. You are transmuting it. Your silence becomes an alchemical vessel. Into this quiet space, your opponent pours their anger, their frustration, their carefully constructed arguments. But these things need fuel. They need resistance. They are designed to clash against your ego, to feed on your reaction. When they meet nothing but a calm, unwavering presence, they have nowhere to go. They hang in the air for a moment, exposed and hollow, before they begin to slowly, inevitably dissipate. Like a storm cloud that has spent all its rain, the energy simply runs out. In this newfound stillness, the battlefield vanishes. You are no longer a soldier defending a position. You have become a seeker in a quiet temple. Your objective is no longer to win, but to understand. For the first time, you are not just hearing their words. You are listening to the heart behind them. You begin to see the fear that is disguised as anger, the hurt that is masquerading as accusation, the profound human need to be seen and heard that is crying out from behind the fortress of their pride. You stop seeing an opponent and start seeing a soul in pain. But let's pause. Is this not just a more sophisticated form of control, a Jedi mind trick, a passive-aggressive way to manipulate the situation until they exhaust themselves and you get your way? It is a fair question, and the answer is an unequivocal no. Manipulation is a desperate tool of the will to power. It is the act of trying to force a specific outcome, to bend another person's reality to fit your own. It is an act of profound arrogance. What we are speaking of here is an act of radical humility. It is the cornerstone of the will to truth. Your silent, compassionate presence is not a tactic. It is a genuine offering. It is a nonverbal message that carries more weight than 1,000 arguments. It says, I am not your enemy. I refuse to fight you. But I am here. I am listening, and I am willing to stand with you in this difficult space until we can find what is real. This is not a strategy to make them surrender. It is an invitation for their higher self to emerge. By refusing to engage with their ego, you are speaking directly to their spirit. You are demonstrating that the connection between you is more important than the disagreement that stands between you. You are creating a safe harbor where they can finally lay down their own weapons, because they realize they are no longer in a war. This act disarms them not through force, but through grace. It doesn't break their will. It invites them to join you on a higher ground, a place where truth is more valuable than victory. This understanding is the key, but knowing the destination is not the same as knowing the path. It's one thing to speak of this calm strength in theory. It is another entirely to summon it in the searing heat of a real conflict, when your own heart is pounding and your pride is on the line. So, how do we build this unshakable inner fortress? How do we forge these tools of silence not just as a concept, but as a practical, usable power in our daily lives? Let's move from philosophy to Part 5, the practice, the arsenal of the silent warrior. Philosophy is a map, but it is not the territory. A map is useless if you are unwilling to take the first step into the wilderness. We have spoken of the overman, of the will to truth, and of the profound power that lies in stillness. But these are just words, beautiful echoes in a distant chamber, until you learn how to bring them into the fire of your own life. It is time to move from the abstract to the immediate. It is time to stop being a student of this power and to become its practitioner. We will now forge the 3 foundational tools in the arsenal of the silent warrior. These are not tricks, they are disciplines, and they will change you from the inside out. The first tool is the mirror of calm. When you find yourself in the storm of another person's anger, your first instinct is to brace for impact. Your body tenses, your jaw clenches, your expression hardens into a defensive mask. This is a declaration of war. Your body is screaming back, "I am your opponent." The mirror of calm is the conscious choice to do the opposite. You must deliberately relax your body. Let the tension fall from your shoulders. Unclench your jaw. Your face should express neither aggression nor fear, but a simple, unwavering, open attention. And you look them in the eyes, not with the cold, challenging stare of a predator, but with a gaze that says, "I see you. I am not afraid. I am here." Your tranquility becomes a reflective surface. All the chaotic energy, all the rage they are projecting has nowhere to land. It hits the mirror of your calm and reflects directly back at them, forcing them for the first time to see the true nature of their own emotional state. They came looking for a fight, but all they found was their own reflection. The second tool is the power pause. In the rhythm of a heated argument, speed is mistaken for strength. We feel a desperate pressure to have an immediate comeback, a quick rebuttal, to fill every moment of silence before our opponent can. To hesitate is to lose. But this is the logic of the ego's game. The silent warrior operates by a different law. When you are verbally attacked, when a sharp accusation is thrown at you like a spear, you do not immediately react. You do nothing. You hold the space. You take a deliberate, measured pause for 3, 4, even 5 seconds. In the context of a fight, 5 seconds is an eternity, and this silence is deafening. It completely shatters the frantic rhythm of their attack. It communicates, more powerfully than any words ever could, that their assault has no power over you. You are not a puppet on their emotional strings. You are the one who decides when and if you will respond. This pause is not a moment of weakness. It is a profound demonstration of absolute self-control. The third tool is the request for understanding. After you have employed the mirror of calm and the power pause, the dynamic in the room will have shifted. Their storm of words may have subsided, met only by your quiet, unwavering presence. Now, you do not rush in to declare victory. You do not list all the ways they were wrong. You do the most unexpected thing possible. You build a bridge. After they have exhausted themselves against your stillness, you ask a simple, genuine question. In a soft and sincere tone, you say, "I can see this is incredibly important to you. Help me understand why." That single sentence is a key that unlocks a different reality. You have just transformed a battlefield into a classroom, an enemy into a teacher, an argument into a collaboration. With one humble request, you are stating that your goal is not to defeat them, but to connect with them. You are no longer an opponent to be vanquished, but a partner in the search for truth. But what if it doesn't work? What if you stand there, a perfect mirror of calm? You take your power pause, and they just keep yelling? What if their rage is a fire that simply refuses to burn itself out? This is the final, crucial secret. These techniques are not designed to work on them. They are designed to work on you. They are your personal practice, your spiritual exercise in the art of self-mastery. The ultimate goal is not to control the other person's behavior. We already know that is a fool's errand. The goal is to control your own. Even if they continue to rage, you have already achieved the most profound victory possible. You have maintained your peace in the middle of a storm. You have held onto your dignity when you were invited to lose it. You have refused to be dragged down into the chaos and made smaller. You have stood over yourself. And in that personal victory, in that moment of unbreakable self-possession, you will discover the true meaning of winning an argument, a secret that, once learned, will change not only your conflicts, but your entire life, forever. Part 6. The true victory is peace. So you have stood in the fire, and you have not been burned. You have faced the hurricane and held your center. You have mastered the tools, won the war within, and maintained your peace in the face of chaos. And now we must ask the final question. What is this true victory that Nietzsche's secret offers us? What is the ultimate prize waiting for you on the other side of your silence? It is not what you think. It is not the sight of a defeated opponent, their arguments in ruins, their voice finally silenced by your superior strength. It is not the hollow echo of the words, "You were right." It is not the fleeting, intoxicating rush of adrenaline that comes from having the last word. Those are the spoils of a child's game, trophies made of smoke that vanish the moment you try to grasp them, leaving behind nothing but the bitter ash of a fractured connection. The true victory is the profound, unshakable peace in your own soul. It is the feeling you have when you walk away from a potential war zone, not with a scar, but with your spirit intact, whole, and undisturbed. It is the quiet hum of integrity in your heart, the knowledge that you did not allow another person's storm to become your own. You refused to trade your inner tranquility for the cheap currency of being right. In a world that is constantly trying to provoke you, to pull you into its frantic dance of anger and anxiety, you chose to remain a sanctuary of calm. That peace is not a gift. It is an achievement. It is the most valuable territory you will ever defend. The true victory is a relationship that was strained but not broken. Think of it. When you fight with fire, you may win the battle, but you leave the landscape charred and barren. Trust is burned away. Intimacy turns to ash. But when you meet fire with the cool, calm presence of water, you do not destroy. You transform. You create the possibility for something new to grow. The conflict, instead of being a wound that festers, becomes a moment of shared truth. You earn a form of respect that fear can never buy, the deep, quiet admiration reserved for a person who has mastered themselves. They may never admit it, but they will never forget that in a moment of intense pressure, you showed them a higher way. You offered them grace when they expected a fight. So is the secret, then, to simply never fight at all? To become a passive observer in your own life, letting every injustice and falsehood slide by in the name of peace? No. That is the final misunderstanding, the last illusion to be shattered. The secret is not to stop fighting. The secret is to finally, after all these years, turn and face your true opponent. You were never fighting them. You were never fighting their logic, their anger, or their stubbornness. You were fighting the screaming toddler of your own ego. You were fighting the insecure, frightened part of you that believes its worth is measured by its ability to win an argument. You were fighting your own desperate need for validation, your own pride, your own fear of being misunderstood or seen as weak. That is the only enemy that has ever had any real power over you, and by choosing calm, conscious silence, you win that fight. When you take that pause instead of lashing out, You have defeated your own impulsiveness. When you choose to listen instead of interrupting, you have conquered your own arrogance. When you offer a bridge of understanding instead of building a wall of defense, you have triumphed over your own fear. This is not surrender. This is the most profound form of conquest imaginable. The next time you feel yourself being pulled into that familiar vortex, the rising heat in your chest, the desperate scramble for the perfect comeback, remember, the most powerful, most devastating, most irrefutable statement you can possibly make is your own calm, deliberate silence. This is not weakness. It is the discipline of the spirit. It is not emptiness. It is the ultimate expression of self-possession. This is Nietzsche's real will to power. Not the will to stand over other men, but the will to stand over yourself. It is your true, unconquerable strength.